Good, good to go. Well, thank you so much for joining. Tonight we are talking about job and internship search strategies as I believe the last night of Career Week, if not the last night for me in Career Week. And we're going to talk about what employers are looking for in potential candidates, ones that are specifically recruiting WSU students and just in general, how global campus students bring skills to the table, just vis-a-vis what they're doing through their education as an online student, and talk about specific search strategies that work for people, different methods of maximizing those search strategies, and then a little bit about competitive differentiation, standing out from the others in the candidate pool that you're in. Let me know if you have any questions in the chat box. That's the easiest way. There's also a Q&A box, and I can't see those during the presentation while I'm sharing my application, but I will remember this time to stop sharing so I can see those at the end to see if there's anything there. So let's just use the chat box. I'm going to ask you a question in a little bit about your work history. So just think, I guess as a primer for that, think about, I will say there's different ways to do this. I'll say the last up to 5 jobs you've had, no matter how long that spans back in time, about the last 5 jobs you've had, and how you went about securing that job. Basically, I'll break it down into 3 general areas, but just think about how did I go about applying for that job? And I'll hold off until I get to that point. Yeah, so if you have any questions, put them in the chat box. I'll try to see them as I'm going here. And then I'll have a more open-ended Q&A section at the end. But again, thanks for joining. I'm Chris Miller, the Global Campus Career Advisor. If I didn't already say that, I know that guy on the screen there. He looks like me. Okay. Starting with a brief look at the career development process. We're talking about job and internship searching. The strategies for both are essentially the same. So I might just say job searching, but I could be talking about for an internship search or an internship search. I might say internship search. And when I mean job search, it's essentially the same strategies and processes. So just to make sure we're on the same page with how I'm using the terminology. So just, I don't know, opportunity search strategies. I don't know what the best catch-all would be for that. But again, looking at the career development process, I'm already rambling and it's like the second slide. We're pretty much, we're on our job search. So we've assessed our strengths, our interests. We've researched opportunities. We've decided what we're going to pursue, and now we're taking action. We are firmly in the orange section. However, some of those effective job search strategies it'll be important to think about the yellow section and getting focused also on the blue section. So, but for the most part, we're connecting with employers. So we're trying to figure out how we can successfully connect with employers to move from the application phase to actually getting a job. Well, how are people doing that in general? So what do employers say they want? Let me save some bandwidth here. What do employers say they want? So this was a data taken from an employer focus group at WSU. So these are employers looking to hire WSU students. And they identified these things that they're looking for in applicants. Genuine interest. You need to be truly interested in the company, what it does, and the position for which you are applying. They're looking for interpersonal skills so that you work well with others, maintain a good relationship with your boss and coworkers. You listen properly to those around you, taking the time to comprehend fully what is said and assimilate their requests or instructions into your approach to tasks or projects. Also, to be confident, caring, and assertive. This doesn't mean to be aggressive, which would obviously hurt your ability to work well with others. Competence, they identified. So a supervisor would be looking for employees who can make prepared decisions, clearly state what they believe are the appropriate pathways or solutions. Employers want people who have the requisite skills for the job, have the ability to quickly learn them if not. Also, They create positive first impressions and follow through. This is again competence. Admit and learn from mistakes and accept suggestions for improvement. Show leadership potential. Often a company is hiring for an entry level position, but is looking for candidates that they can grow beyond that and keep on the team long term. They're looking for dependability, meaning employees want employees who are organized and manage their time well. They're prompt in getting reports or assignments finished. They arrive on time for work, meetings, and appointments. They show examples of timely project management. They're looking for compatibility. Employers want employees who work well with others. They participate in social activities so that others can get to know you better. They maintain discretion and amount of socializing on work time and value your role as an effective team player. They want employees with initiative. One who is self-motivated. They take extra courses or training on their own time. Master technology, keep skills current. Volunteer for committees or projects to become noticed and recognized. Communication skills, obviously they want and need employees who have good comm skills, which is both written and verbal. Nearly all positions requiring a college degree require employees to write and do presentations from time to time. So clarity and brevity are strong indicators of clear business communication. Customer focus. Employers build their success on their interactions with the customers. It's critical that you understand the need for excellent customer focus skills. And then lastly, they identified commitment. When you use your strengths, your natural talents, you're doing your best work, which provides satisfaction. When you use your strengths with purpose, you connect differently and strongly with your work, and you take responsibility for developing work satisfaction. Just in general, though, outside of what these employers who are hiring WSU students are asking for, just on a more national level, employers say that they're looking for candidates with independent learning, so ability to learn, ability to recognize opportunities to learn, research skills, ability to find information and ideas, ability to critically distinguish between various sources of ideas, the ability to structure your thoughts coherently and express yourself in ways that are appropriate to the occasion. Reading skills, the ability to understand language and systems of meaning. Critical thinking, meaning ability to tell better ideas from worse, the ability to test ideas by subjecting them to relevant criteria. Adaptability, the ability to apply knowledge and skills to a wide variety of contexts. Time and resource management skills, the ability to work under pressure and maximize resources to produce a desired outcome. Electricacy refers to, it's like literacy for print. So the ability to read, navigate, and create the digital environment. Problem solving, the ability to understand and express a problem that needs to be solved, and the knowledge of various methods of analysis that might be relevant. Interdisciplinary, that is right on the nail on the head for global campus students, the ability to work the borders of traditional forms of knowledge, using the resources from more than one area to help define a problem or ask questions and suggest approaches to addressing those problems. Global understanding and cultural sensitivity, the ability to appreciate cultures and traditions outside of your own. Historical understanding is the ability to see how and why things came to be as they are and how they might be different. And then perspective, the ability to understand how other people or groups think and to value that difference. So as an online student, what does your success depend on? It depends on being self-motivated, being able to work in a team, to communicate effectively, especially virtually, to collaborate, to be exposed to different types of technology and be able to grasp those, to understand and use data, critical thinking, complexity and flexibility, interpersonal skills. So what do you bring to the table in a candidate pool? You bring interests that cut across departmental boundaries, multidisciplinary skills, adaptability, analytical skills, creativity, curiosity, communication, cultural awareness, imagination, sense of context, and so on and so forth. Your WSU education gives you an academic foundation and opportunity to develop both technical and social skills that employers value. Some that we've already highlighted: communication, analytics, teamwork, problem solving, interpersonal skills, and interpersonal meaning, accepting feedback, conflict resolution, social awareness, self-awareness, self-management, and etiquette. In order to be a successful student, you have to learn how to write well, potentially in different styles, organize your work-life balance and meet deadlines, convey meaning precisely, summarize, make arguments, draw conclusions, research, analyze, and present data logically. I'm just going to take a peek in the chat here to make sure I'm not missing anything. These are a good question from that employer survey. It was a focus group done. It was pre-pandemic. It was a few years back, but it was the ones that are attending the Career Expo in the Pullman campus, and they do come from all over Washington State for the most part. I wouldn't say it's national; it's mostly Western and Eastern Washington, but that's where that group. That's why it was easy for the main campus career center to tap in to those employers because they are already coming to visit campus. And now, they offer both the blended version of a virtual career expo and the in-person career expo in Pullman. Yeah, electricity is an interesting word. Global campus students give us an edge in terms of electricity. I don't think necessarily, but definitely in terms of being different forms of technology are kind of like thrust upon not just students, but also people who work in virtual education. And so some decision makers might decide that they will buy into different platforms of software, both to serve students and to operate just as, as a business, as an organization. So I don't know necessarily if there's an upper hand with electricity in terms of the ability to navigate, the digital landscape because I am a borderline Gen Xer / millennial, if one were so inclined to believe in these types of stereotypes, but I don't have the advantage that someone like my children do as digital natives, as people would say. So they would definitely have an upper hand on me. So it just depends on exposure and at what time in the amount of skill development that you've had with different forms of the digital print. Oh no, keep asking the questions. No worries. You're good. I appreciate it. So that brings me to I believe, quick job search exercise that I warned and threatened at the beginning. And it's really simple. I want you to think about, like I said, the last up to 5 jobs you've worked. And whatever that time span is, if it's last 5 jobs in 3 years or in 20 years, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Think about how did you find that job opportunity? Meaning, I'm separating these into these 3 categories. Was it an open listing? Did you see something on Handshake, on LinkedIn, on Indeed, ZipRecruiter, whatever, just an open job posting? You had no connection to the job in any other way. You saw there was an opportunity, you applied for it, and you got that job. Was it that? Or was it someone you knew, i.e., was it via networking? Was it someone saying, hey, you should apply for this job? I know someone who works there. I can definitely help you at least get an interview, that kind of a thing. Was it someone in the family gave you a job? Was it someone referred you to a specific thing you didn't know about? So, basically category 2, someone you knew, i.e. networking. Or was it some other job search strategy? And some I will highlight here in just a minute. So just take a minute to think about that. And if you can put in the chat box, how many through open listing, how many through networking, how many through other?
We already have 2 responses in there, Chris.
Great. It's also my water break opportunity. Just a second. Okay. Okay, so I'm trying to do some tallying here. I will exclude myself. My last 5 were from networking, or someone I knew. And then 3 for open, 4 open, 1, 2 networking. And that would be a half connection. That's like a half, I'd say. Well, That would be through someone. Internship, not your brand. So this one's actually coming out. I'm just doing some non-math major math in my head that it's about 50%. There's a little bit of a tick up with open listings, which would be unexpected. So, one thing that tells me is that this group in particular, we are very excellent job searchers, and we can explain our experience very effectively in a digital format by submitting a resume or in an interview scenario without having any prior connection to that job or organization or whatever. And there's some, like, you can see that are kind of on the line through ASWSG. Is it an open listing? Is it networking? It might be kind of a blend of those things. But generally that is not how things play out. But that's good to see that people are having success with open listings. And I will highlight the reason why. Is because for some effective job search strategies I should highlight, and the number one most popular job search strategies is not on that list here. I would say the number one most popular job search strategy is looking for open listings on the internet, which in pre-pandemic surveys, when the data was collected a little bit more efficiently, that it had about a 4% success rate, unless you were looking in IT, engineering, finance, or healthcare. Then it had about a 10% success rate. And still, this is obviously the most convenient way to search for a job. Just go to places where they are posting job openings, or that's where they are. You go there to apply to them. And you don't know on your end, if you're a job seeker, what size the candidate pool is. If you're applying to a job on something like Indeed or Career Builder or ZipRecruiter or Monster, there are tens, hundreds of thousands of people that have access to the site, and maybe not all of them are using it actively, but you are going to be in a much larger candidate pool. And so obviously you're going to have slimmer chances of securing a job that way. And of course, it also depends, like I pointed out, the differences in industries depends on what you're trying to pursue and how they operate. But these are some effective job search strategies that Richard Bowles has highlighted in What Color is Your Parachute? Iconic Career Development Novel, which I highlighted pretty much every webinar, maybe not everyone, but most of them. But identified introducing yourself in person when possible. Obviously, this is an old strategy, and this is something you can't do in every scenario. Not every company is going to allow you to do that. There are barriers to prevent people from doing that. They are going to say, just apply online, just apply online, just apply online. But what they have identified is that in certain communities where there are opportunities for this, and it's not just like rural versus metropolitan or whatever, because in a metropolitan area, I'm in Seattle, there's still plenty of places you could just show up and ask to talk to a manager about job opportunities. It depends. If it's like a corporate environment, it's obviously not going to be the easiest thing to do. It varies so much from situation to situation. But if it's a company that's with employs 25 people or less, a smaller company, it's really going to increase your possibility of doing so. And he says that if that doesn't work, increase that idea to companies of 50 or less and see what kind of success you'll have. Also talks about job search support groups. These can be found in most communities. While the job hunting success rate for this varies, they can be valuable in providing emotional support and reducing your feelings of isolation. That's definitely something that we can all experience on a lengthy job hunt. So most of these groups meet only once a week and only for 1 to a few hours, but they provide community for job hunters, which is a great gift and support. No one should ever have to job hunt all by themselves if they can avoid it. Everyone needs encouragement and support along the way. So check with local libraries. Sometimes have listings for things like this. Chambers of commerce often have things like this. Community colleges might have job search support groups, and also your state and federal employment office, the strategy listed at the bottom, Washington WorkSource or WorkSource WA. I'll often highlight virtual events that they do through the blog. to say, hey, there's so many resources with your state and federal employment office that most people don't think to tap into. They think of it as just unemployment office, but it's a great resource that provides all sorts of different career services to anyone who lives in the state. So definitely check those out for job search support groups. Activating your network is essentially just asking people you know for job leads. Ask family members, friends, people you know in the community. Ask on LinkedIn. They know any place where someone with your talents and background is being sought. Do you know of any job vacancies, the place you work at or elsewhere? Do you know anyone who might be aware of any job openings? Just actually tapping into your already existing network. This is really how most people find work. Building your network is a different strategy of just networking in general. But once you've built your network and continue to grow, then you're activating that already established network. But just think about starting small, starting with what you already have. Private employment agencies and search firms is another strategy that's been successful that he highlights. Also known as staffing agencies or talent agencies or recruiting firms. They basically used to just place office workers, but nowadays there are many categories of jobs where you can't find placement, especially in large metropolitan areas. So you can always just Google employment agencies and physical geographical location to see what's available in your area. They vary greatly in terms of efficacy. Some have staff members that are extremely competent, some less so, some are scams. So it's important to remember to do your research. If you decide to connect with a private employment agency, you can check out the Better Business Bureau, bbb.org, to see if there are any complaints filed against any specific employment agencies. Because if there's even one, it's likely a red flag, and just avoid it altogether. You should never have to pay a fee to an employment agency or search firm. The employer should always be the one paying for the fee. So if they're asking you for a fee, it's a scam. Gig economy, if that fits for what you're trying to do, whether it's stopgap, whether it's side hustle, there are so many different areas of the gig economy where people can support their salaries, support their earnings. So there are a bunch of different sites, too many to list, but FlexJobs, Freelancer, Guru, Upwork, Fiverr, TaskRabbit, Care.com. It just depends on what you're trying to do. If you want to see more of the options that Richard Bowles has highlighted in the text, I'd really recommend What Color Is Your Parachute, the book, to look at these different job search strategies to get a little bit more fleshed out there. I already talked about state and federal employment offices. Those are great opportunities to support anyone with their job search. Jumping over to the chat. Click. The job search support groups are usually free resources. Yeah. So they're usually community-based resources. I know, like I said, chambers of commerce, libraries. I'm blanking on the third thing I was going to say. Often church groups, if someone has a church group that they're connected to, that they'll have these resources for community members. I'll list those. I'll list some of those at the end too. Or just the Better Business Bureau one. Yeah. BBB, triple B, Better Business Bureau. I'll put that in there. BB.org, Better Business Bureau. You can see company or complaints filed against companies. So what is the takeaway here with job search strategies? Obviously, there are many different ways to look for a job. Some ways are much more popular than others. Obviously, just applying to jobs online. There are old school methods like just, emailing now resumes to companies, HR groups that are unsolicited. They have a very low success rate in doing that. But those are easier things to access. You can do that by taking up less of your time. Whereas obviously developing into time to networking takes more time, but is a much more successful job search strategy. Job hunting is an art, not a science. There's always There are no always wrong or always right ways to search for work. Job hunting always depends on some amount of luck, often timing. Combinations of different methods will produce more successful results. So, really, just trying to utilize as many resources as you can, whatever fits for your situation, whatever it is you're trying to do. Just going to be here to make sure. Okay. Standing out, talking about how do you stand out from the competition in the candidate pool that you may be in? Where are your competitive differentiation edges? Well, you do this by doing the things that other job seekers are not doing, like we talked about yesterday. Are you producing a tailored resume that is specific to the job posting, that includes keywords? You're utilizing Resume Worded or some other form of AI to scan through job postings or internship postings to say, what are they focusing on with these job postings, and how well am I addressing them with my resume and cover letter? Are there numbers on my resume? Is there data? Am I quantifying my experiences as much as I can? Those are some ways to do it. Also, by just maintaining your job search momentum. Persistence is a key element for a successful job search. Even the most optimistic people can find it difficult to remain committed to spending the time and energy that job hunting requires. So you need to learn to cope with rejection. For every positive response, you will receive a number of negative responses. Staff members may be unhelpful. Personnel directors may not return your calls. Companies may insist they cannot use your skills. Just be prepared for negative responses and learn not to take rejection personally. Remember that each no brings you closer to that ultimate yes. Find ways to handle the job search stress. It can be tiring, stressful, and frustrating. Too much stress can bring on fatigue and burnout. When you're stressed, it's important to take time to renew yourself through activities, hobbies, exercises, and taking time out will help renew your energy. It's important to set short-term goals. Focusing only on your major goal can be overwhelming. Breaking your job search down into a series of small steps will help monitor your progress and provide a sense of satisfaction as you complete each task. For example, if your major goal is to find a job within the next 3 months, your short-term goal could be to contact at least 3 employers this week. Setting several small goals will make your efforts more focused and efficient in the long run. And then, it's important to reassess your job search progress. Occasionally reassess your goals and progress. Are there any unforeseen difficult obstacles? Do certain skills need brushing up on? Do you need more information? A hurdle or obstacle does not have to put an end to your job search. And something that was highlighted by was it a positive? Yeah, a positive psychologist, Sean Acor, a psychologist and CEO of Good Think Incorporated, who does TED Talks, talks about positive psychology, the connection between happiness and success. This advice doesn't take into account, I would say, mental illness. So this is one of those things I think it's important to say to take with a grain of salt for people that are able to. But he believes that most people say the formula for success is how hard you work directly affects how successful you become, and how successful you become defines how happy you will be. And once you reach your personally defined goal of success, you redefine what it means to be successful. But he would say that it's actually the opposite, that raising your level of positivity in the present releases dopamine, so that it makes a physiological change in you by just trying to be positive, and that makes you feel happy and turns on different learning centers in your brain, always allowing you to adapt to surroundings in different ways. He would say your intelligence rises, your creativity rises, your energy level rise, and in fact, every business outcome improves. It's also important to be mindful of technology's impact on writing and grammar skills. Texting, emailing, and social media allow writing and grammar skills to slip. Skillful writing shows attention to detail. So if you write excellent communication skills on a resume that has several typos on it, there's a good chance you will be eliminated from the competition. So who is hiring nowadays, currently? Technology and cybersecurity are still having a good boom or solid growth. finance, banks and insurance, healthcare, doctors, nurses, medical tech, safety workers, e-commerce, logistics for supply chain management, education. I would go ahead and put an asterisk on at this point. A few months ago, it'd still be on the list. And I mean, as things are right now, sure. But in terms of forecast, I'd put an asterisk on education, risk in data and analytics, advertising and marketing, communication, social media, small and mid-sized companies, especially for internships. Those are the people where the opportunities are more abundant. Some final job search tips. Remember to send thank you cards. The old rule was to always send a handwritten thank you card. That is not necessarily the way to go nowadays in every scenario. Other than just accessibility and simplicity's sake, it's easier now just to send an email. So at least send an email thank you after you have an interview. But we used to say always send a handwritten thank you note to anyone involved in the process. So any administrative staff, anyone on the search committee, anyone who's doing the interviewing. But valuing sustainability, let's not waste paper is kind of a thing that most companies tend to take on. So any way that you're just following up to make sure you're saying thank you after an interview is really the most important point here. If you say you're going to follow up, be sure to follow up. Be on LinkedIn. I mentioned it last night with the resume section, using LinkedIn to its fullest advantage. A fully completed profile that you're building slowly over time to be professionally visible. Like I said last night, LinkedIn has great search engine optimization. So likely if an employer is looking you up, you have a LinkedIn profile, that's the first thing that they're going to see. So that controls the narrative more so of what they will see about you as they're doing their background check. Your online presence, make sure you've looked at everything there is online about you, that you have control over editing. Follow companies of interest on LinkedIn. So if you're trying to get a job or internship at someplace, make sure you are following what's going on there on LinkedIn. And if needed, expand your skill set. Look at taking any kind of certifications or trainings if that's something you need to do in order to help you move along in your job search. And then, like I say, networking. That's the way that most people are finding work. I know I said last night, also from What Color Is Your Parachute? Networking to some extent is involved in 85% of successful job searches. So I believe that brings me to the end of the job and internship search strategies webinars. Thank you so much for joining. As I said, and I shall do, I will stop so I can see if there's anything in the Q&A. And I don't see anything right now. I will also become visible. And where am I? Where is it? People can unmute themselves as they see fit. So thank you again so much for joining. Let me know if you have any questions. And happy career week.